want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Welcome to Rage Against the Mainstream, your full spectrum source for all things music, insight, and opinion. My name is Bill, and I'm joined here today with Connor and Steve.
Yo.
Today is September 2nd, 2019, for those of you listening on the day that it comes out. Have you guys seen anything new or interesting this week, or heard, or anything?
I gave the new Y album a listen, A-OK Ohio.
Oh, nice. How was it?
It was a different little listen, I'll say that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Y's strongest work, but it was worth a listen. It's mostly like shorter songs spread across like 6 movements.
Oh,
is
okay.
what they call it. So it's like 16 songs or something, and it's like 33 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
What's the one out? Appalachia?
Yeah, Alopecia, yeah.
Appalachia.
Male pattern baldness.
They're an older band. I mean, not too old, but 90s, late 90s and the early 2000s of death metal. Band's called Exhumed. They had so many like really good. They're like gore metal, I guess the best way you can put them. But they just actually released an album a few years ago. It was like a concept album, but they just released a new song for an upcoming album. The album's called Horror. The track they released is called Ravenous Cadavers. It's good. It's just, if you like traditional 90s death metal, that Tampa scene, this band, if you haven't discovered them, you should have by now. But if not, dude, like, Bill, I know you're into it, so you should definitely check this out. I just heard it the other day, actually. But the album, again, is hard, but the song that they have released, Ravenous Cadavers, fucking excellent.
That's awesome.
You got anything, Bill?
Yes. I was browsing through YouTube the other day, and I came across a drum cam for Dimmu Borgir, their drummer playing Chosen Legacy. I stopped listening to Dimmu Borgir a long time ago, and it wasn't like it was like a conscious decision, like, oh, I'm fucking done listening to him. But I don't know, it just fell off my radar, and I stopped listening. And seeing that video definitely made me jump back into their back catalog and everything, and I realized why I really enjoyed them. They're just an extremely good band, black metal band.
They kind of like develop more of that symphonic sound. They kind of progressed her that way, and then they obviously, when they split off with the the Old Man's Child, adaptation with the members from that band being able to establish that work. But when they got to the more symphonic sound, it got more of like a specific type of listener. But their early work, like Stormblast, it's good music, man.
Yeah, I want to definitely jump back into that kind of music I used to listen to in high school. It's just one of those things, like, you start evolving, and you just start listening to new shit, and then you just forget about all the old stuff you used to listen to.
Yeah, man.
On this day in music history.
1971, the Grateful Dead have their former manager Lenny Hart arrested for embezzling $70,000 from the group's coffers.
Oh, shit.
That's some fighting actions.
Yeah.
70 grand in 1971. Yeah, we got problems.
A lot of money. Especially for like a peace and loving band, too.
1976, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five become the first rap act to play a theater when they do their first major gig performing at the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem. They introduce various DJ techniques along with rap interplay and choreography.
That's pretty cool.
It's
almost
very
like
innovative
act,
dude. Grandmaster Flash was in that time a very innovative act that really established a lot of fucking artists to come after them.
And it's just funny because they like laid the groundwork out for what is rap
that
now.
Hip hop scene,
DJing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just cool.
I mean, think about 1976. How many acts that hadn't come out yet that could clearly say that they drew influence.
Oh my God,
from Grandmaster Flash.
And it's funny, like listening to like Grandmaster Flash, and then you think of like NWA.
Oh yeah,
and they straight up pulled inspiration.
Well, developed
from
the
them.
whole gangster rap scene as opposed to the hip hop scene that was just more so for like the hits and the club music. But back then, that's when like rap was really had a meaning and a purpose. And
exactly, and even influencing major influence in the rap scene, LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of the
luckily
greatest of all
DMX.
time.
Luckily DMX came around a little bit later because, good tunes.
DMX won the poll, right?
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
Oh my god.
Stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop.
Oh,
No, that's a Rough Riders road.
Personally, I think we all know that the greatest rapper of all time is Baby, Put It On Me.
That's not.
Ja Rule.
It's just
we're
false
not going to bring
advertisement.
him up, dude.
It's just false advertisement.
This guy, yeah. Remember,
It's not fraud. It's just false advertisement.
Remember out there, any marketing companies, that false advertisement is not fraud. Ja Rule Esquire says so.
And remember that in 1988, the Human Rights Now tour to benefit Amnesty International kicks off with a show at Wembley Stadium in London. Performers on the 20-date trek are Peter Gabriel, Bruce Springsteen, Tracy Chapman, and Sting. It is Springsteen's last tour with the E Street Band until 1999, 11 years later.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize they took a break like that.
Yeah, I didn't either. That's just wild.
I mean, I like Bruce Springsteen, but I was never a giant fan or anything.
No, I definitely didn't follow discography at all. It's still pretty cool.
A year later, in 1989, NWA's "Express Yourself" debuts at number 45 on the Billboard R&B Hip Hop Songs chart, becoming their second single to reach that chart.
Ironically, that we just mentioned this earlier.
I'm
It's-
expressing my full capabilities.
It's funny,
Now I'm living
yeah.
in correctional facilities.
Express Yourself was more of their like happier, like poppier song.
1993, Pearl Jam's "Jeremy" video wins 4 awards, including Video of the Year at the MTV Video Music Awards. Pearl Jam responds by not making any more videos until 1998, when they did the animated "Do the Evolution." They would do another performance video in 2002 for "I Am Mine," and then they wouldn't really make another traditional music video until they made "Worldwide Suicide" and "Life Wasted" for their self-titled 2006 album.
Oh, wow. That's wild. But Pearl Jam was really weird with that kind of shit, too.
Yeah, Pearl Jam just said, yeah, we made one video. We're really not going to make any more.
Yeah.
And, I feel like it affected them in a negative way, too, to not have that extra bit of promotion out there for MTV to play.
I mean, if you're talking about sales, even though they were massive, they like albums like Versus and Vitology and No Code probably would have fared very much better. Like 10 had videos. They had a video for Even Flow live.
And they were live
Jeremy,
videos. With
obviously.
Well, yeah, it
with
was
live
actually studio
recording.
But they were still
tracking.
able to get played
No,
on
it was
MTV.
live recording.
Alive was live.
So it was Even Flow.
Even Flow?
It was track recording.
Yeah, no, it was a live recording because
And it wasn't
in the
mastered.
beginning-
It's too polished to be
in the
like,
beginning of Even Flow, in
Yeah.
the recorded studio version, there is no like noise or nothing. It just
Well, yeah, and then they got
live version goes.
I was always under the
"Oh!"
impression
Yeah,
that
yeah,
Even
yeah.
Flow was studio dub.
It may have been.
Well, it's almost like, all right, have you ever listened to Live and Dangerous by Thin Lizzy?
Yeah.
Hailed as a studio album, but it's also a live album. But the reason why it couldn't actually get the live effect is because they actually went in and mixed and mastered it. To
Yeah,
make these
exactly.
polished
And I
songs.
feel like
Never
that's what it
sleeps.
was with Even
exactly.
Flow and Alive.
That's what I'm saying. So it's
But
not
they weren't like it wasn't off of 10.
wasn't tracked. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, I know that, but it's a different recording, but it's still recorded studio
Exactly.
version over a live setting.
That and the telltale sign from those two was the guitar solos are entirely different.
Well, yeah.
But that's rather here nor there. Pearl
I
Jam's great.
digress. Yes.
Also in 1993, Stone Temple Pilots win Best New Artist at the MTV Video Music Awards for Plush.
Hell yeah.
Great fucking album, song, everything about that. Plush was such a good song
Yeah.
when that
I
hit
am
because-
surprised they won Best Artist, though. Best New Artist. Gotta say.
Well, you gotta figure, dude, because the song Plush, but you think about the whole album Core. I mean,
Never was a fan of Core.
really?
Nope.
I like Core.
Holy shit, dude! Dead and Bloated, Cracker Man.
Dead and Bloated's like my go-to when I'm looking to get fired
Dude,
up while
Sex
driving
Type thing
the
is
car.
on that. There's
Like, the second
so
that-
many.
Dun, dun, bam, 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 like it's just like it's there.
Yeah, dude.
I am smelling like a rose that somebody gave me because I'm deaf and bloated.
I think Wicked Guarded turned me off to them, kind of.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, I
Wicked
never really
Garden's
liked
Dude,
that song.
even the unplugged version of that's really fucking good.
I want to run through your wicked
Dude, think about Sex Type
garden.
thing. Think about Cracker Man.
Yeah, I never liked Sex Type thing.
What?
let's move on to the next year.
I want to know what's on your mind about 1995.
We'll talk about this later.
1995, Michael Jackson's "You Are Not Alone" becomes the first song to debut at number 1 on the Hot 100. In the video, Jackson and his wife, Lisa Marie Presley, appear topless.
Word.
That'll put a song right at number 1.
Yep.
Should we invent clickbait that says, on this episode, we discuss a topless Lisa Marie Presley? People are like, what?
What? Where, Reggie?
Also in 1995, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame opens in Cleveland with opening ceremony performances by Bob Dylan, Chuck Berry, James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Little Richard, Al Green, the Allman Brothers Band, Booker T and the MGs, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash, The Pretenders, John Fogerty, Lou Reed, Iggy Pop, George Clinton, The Kinks, John Mellencamp, Bruce Springsteen, The Animals' Eric Burden, and Boz Scaggs.
Wow.
It's kind of funny
It's
too,
almost like Isle of
because
Wight from last week.
Yeah.
in the opening, well, in the few first episodes of this podcast,
I was gonna
it was
mention
in there about like them breaking ground.
yeah.
And
then we discussed the idea they had other options of where they were going to put it.
yeah, and now it's full circle.
Wow.
That must have been
Congratulations on RATM for their 20th episode, coming full circle with the idea of new topics on this day.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I want to send out there. This is the 20th episode. We like to thank all of our listeners. I know this is in the middle of music history, but yeah, 20 episodes.
It's never a wrong time to show our appreciation for the listeners. That's how I feel at RATM Podcast.
the 20th episode of the extremely prolific Rage Against the Mainstream podcast.
That is now global.
2011, T.I. is arrested just days after serving an 11-month sentence at the U.S. Penitentiary in Arkansas. Under his probation agreement, the rapper was allowed to provide his own transportation from Arkansas to a halfway house in Atlanta. However, prison officials objected to his vehicle of choice, a luxury SUV motor coach, and took him back into custody for violating his parole. So he violated his parole for rolling around in too flashy of an SUV.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe they made an example out of him for this thing. Like, oh, you're going to make a joke out of this, are you?
Escalade,
Yeah.
huh, buddy? Should have got a Tahoe.
Well,
Should have been driving in a Ford Windstar, motherfucker.
Well, you figure it's just days after his 11-month sentence, so you figure he's in a, he's downstate, and then he's essentially going to like a state, halfway house, which is like the OC. I mean, it's anything around our way. But I mean, come on, dude. Like, we get it, your status, but you're going literally from a state facility
it's almost
to
like he's making a
halfway house.
mockery of it,
Yeah.
and they made an example out of
They
him.
were like, you can't drive whatever you like.
Well, he's the rubber
You
band man.
can't live your life.
He drives his, black SUVs wild as a Taliban. He's got a 9 on his right. He also has a 45 in the other hand.
True.
Damn. Some deep shit.
That's funny.
Music news.
Today in music news, September 2nd, 2019. First thing we got here is ASAP Rocky found guilty of assault. The rapper has been found guilty of assault in Sweden, tied to an altercation in June, but was given a suspended sentence and has been ordered to pay 12,500 Swedish krona, about $1,300 US, to the victim. That's kind of funny. Bystanders and Rocky himself caught bits and pieces of the incident on video, some of which showed Rocky and his crew attempting to de-escalate the situation and walk away, while other videos appeared to show the rapper throwing the 19-year-old victim to the ground. The incident led Rocky to being arrested and held in jail for several weeks in Stockholm, garnering interest from fans, celebrities, and President Trump, who then sent his special envoy for hostage affairs to watch Rocky's trial. Rocky was released from prison earlier this month, pending the verdict, and returned to the U.S. shortly afterwards. 2 other members of Rocky's entourage were also ordered to pay damages to the victim.
Wild.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
It's weird that Trump was interested in this.
Well, it's amazing because this almost became like more of a political stunt. A lot of the articles that were released, I mean, literally, there is a headline for an article. It's actually on the Intelligencer. I mean, I don't take a lot of investment into news I find on the internet.
Yeah.
But I mean, back on July 24th, it was literally stating Trump's efforts to free ASAP Rocky showcase his racist opportunism. And it is true, because my first reaction was like, he's tweeting about this. He's putting so much effort into care about this, because ASAP Rocky had one of the biggest hit songs, I believe, in 2011. What the fuck was the name of this song? It was
Which one is this one? He's not the one with the colored teeth, is he?
no. He did this song where it's like, I fuck bad bitches, that a fucking problem. He did that huge song. That was with like 2 Chainz. There was Drake on there. I mean, it had a lot. So he came out and he had one of the biggest songs of the year. So he's got a face. Like, he's not your traditional, like, club rapper like Migos and stuff like that today. He's actually got a great following, and his music's actually not what you would particularly think it would be. I mean, he released some hits, but again, this became more of a political stunt than anything.
Yeah, I agree on that.
I mean, the tweets about it, the memes that were made about it, and it was just almost Donald Trump kind of like fished his way in there to kind of like gain that support level of like, I am not racist, and I'm not going to go out and talk, political concepts at this point in time. But again, this is more than anything about, think about other rappers that deal with issues all the time, and this happened to be overseas, so we try to make it some almost foreign affair opportunity, as well as like swaying people to kind of feel like,
exactly.
he
like,
cares.
See, I'm one of you.
Yeah, he made some fucking tweet. It was like, get home ASAP. I hope you don't have a rocky weekend, or some bullshit pun. And I'm like, dude, motherfucker, dude. It's like, come on. It's like the dad trying to make a joke in his like mid-40s, and it's like, you're just like, stop.
We hold no political stance here at Rage Against the Mainstream podcast. Just going to throw that one out. As a whole, we do not have a political belief.
Allegedly. For the sake of public radio, we choose not to delve into our personal choices and those suggestions. However, if you would like to know, email us at
ratmpodcast@gmail.com.
We will answer all inquiries if you are concerned about our religious or political beliefs, but for now, on radio purposes, you don't need to know.
This
all right.
episode.
Next thing we got here in music news is System of a Down bassist Shavo Odagian explains why the band hasn't recorded new music yet. He said that the band have some, in quotes, pretty great ideas down for material, though, in quotes, creative differences are still hindering progress on a potential full length. At the end of last year, the bassist revealed that Serge Tankian led Outfit had been at work on material that tops everything we've done. The musician added that he was keen to record that and drop what would be the follow-up to the 2005 albums Hypnotize and Mesmerize. In April, guitarist and songwriter Darren Malakian followed up with the comments by saying that the project isn't happening anytime soon, explaining that he and his bandmates have, in quotes, different ways of wanting to do things in the studio. In a new interview, Odagian was asked if there were currently any ideas down for new songs, where he said, "Yeah, there are." He told SiriusXM before adding that there were no recordings of the music at this time. He later revealed that the band would have never stopped if it was up to him and could be on their 9th or 10th record by now.
From what I gathered, the guitarist Darren or Darian kind of took the keys in the band for Mesmerize and Hypnotize.
Oh, okay.
And Serge wasn't really down with that.
Yeah,
and
well, he did his
really
own solo thing for a while, too.
Yeah, he didn't really like Mesmerize, and I didn't
think it was that bad.
Well, it's ironic because both those albums is a dual release. I mean, at least for the sake of Mesmerize, it actually debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, 453,000 copies.
I think they both debuted.
Yeah,
at
well,
number
I mean,
one.
they were dual albums. I mean, you figure...
Nah, they came out separately.
May
though.
17th
They came
of
out
November. Yeah, it was 6 months apart.
Yeah.
But like I said, for Mesmerize, they actually hit and debuted immediately on the Billboard as well. Hypnotize as well, but they sold less at 320,000 copies.
Wow.
But I mean,
They were big.
They were big albums. Like you figure the video for BYOB, I remember seeing that all the fucking time. But this is becoming another Tool situation. You figure 2005.
That was big.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. System of a Down is not Tool.
Exactly.
By any stretch of the imagination.
Not even close, but that's the difference. It's like these guys are also in different, like Serge Tankian is in a different act as well, and he's saying that, that music is actually far beyond what he could create with System of a Down. The difference was You know, that's the same thing with like Maynard going on with Perfect Circle and Pucifer.
Mhm.
But these other artists are trying to like conjure up the System of a Down record, and it's becoming a joke at this point because there is no plan. And at least they're vocal about it to come out and say like, don't get your fucking hopes up.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, you figure 2005 November was when Hypnotize was the actually his latest release between 6 months of that and Mesmerize. But both those albums debuted at #1.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think off the creative success alone that you would try to at least
Toxicity was
entertain.
#1 too, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
They were huge.
I mean, I'm not a giant fan of System of a Down.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm a
a
pretty big
select listener.
yeah, like Steal This album's pretty good, but that self-title, dude, is
Yeah, the
Mhm.
self-titled
Yeah.
Toxicity and Steal This album are all good as hell.
that's like a weird listen for me though, like System of a Down. But I can't get into like other acts of that era that were like weird and out there like that. For
Yeah.
some reason, System just does it right, you know. But I mean, like again, at least they're vocal about it, so fans aren't sitting around expecting something. I mean, you're on a 14-year break of releasing albums at this point, and
Yeah,
just
exactly.
no hope for a future at this time.
I mean,
So-
new music would be cool, but whatever.
Not gonna hold my breath.
From what I
Exactly.
gather, when they made the first one in Toxicity, they were kind of all in the studio together and kind of came up with it all. Like they all came
Yeah.
up with the songs together, whether at practice
Yeah.
and rehearsal
As a
or
band
in the
would do.
studio. And then after that, it kind of became a Darren Malakian musical project that Serge was plopping vocals on top
Yeah,
of,
exactly.
which is how
And-
Mesmerize and Hypnotize were made.
Yeah, I mean, and those two albums definitely showed that.
Yeah, they're not as like tight as
Yeah,
Toxicity.
exactly.
But you think
Yeah.
of like the single with like BOIB being the first one to come out with Mesmerize before even Hypnotize drops, with that being one of the singles. BYOB, you can clearly tell the difference in the music that they're starting to
Mhm.
produce, and you can see like they're probably, because you're saying creative differences, they probably, regardless of sales, were not fucking happy with that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Sales of what? Steal This album?
no, both Hypnotize and Mesmerize.
You think they weren't happy?
No, I don't think they were happy with the quality of the music that they were putting out on themselves. I think they were like critiquing themselves. Because think
yeah.
about the difference of Toxicity and then these albums.
Yeah.
And then even if you go back to like Steal This album as well as the self-title, there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Huge difference. Yeah. You can tell that Mesmerize and Hypnotize are coming from a more commercially
Oh,
driven
yeah.
place when you listen
And
to
you
them.
see that on the chart records as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
Speaking of big differences, this is something you're not going to see in this new Guns N' Roses settlement. Guns N' Roses settled trademark dispute with Guns N' Rose craft beer.
Sounds disgusting.
Yes, Guns N' Roses settled a trademark infringement case against a craft brewery for selling beer named Guns N' Rose without permission.
You know how many people are out there with man buns right now, like hoping it's a solid IPA? Like, can I get the Guns N' Rose?
And it's just as disappointing as Chinese democracy.
Ooh,
The album.
facts, hard facts, hard facts.
The band filed a federal lawsuit in May in California against Canarchy Craft Brewery Collective, also known as Oscar Blues Brewery, after its management team realized the brewery was not only selling Guns N' Rose named beer, but also filing to trademark the name. When Guns N' Roses learned Canarchy attempted to trademark the name in 2018, the band objected and demanded that it retracted the application. When the beer company failed to do so, they filed a federal lawsuit for using the Guns N' Roses name and prestige without the group's approval. According to the 23-page complaint, the band also successfully licensed the Guns N' Roses name over the years to sell clothing, bandanas, wine glasses, pint glasses, and other merchandise. After negotiations, Guns N' Roses reached an agreement with the brewery on July 31st to settle claims and dismiss the lawsuit. The terms of the settlement agreement are confidential. Attorneys for Guns N' Roses and Canarchy Craft did not respond to Billboard's request for comment.
So,
This is Axel trying to grab as much money as he can.
of course,
Oscar
but this
Blues
is
actually makes
confusing
pretty good beer.
because
Do they?
Guns N'
I've never had
Roses files a lawsuit, and then obviously it's withdrawn because they came up with some sort of agreement. So I'm curious if they just said, we're going to stop calling it this, and they were like, we'll just give you some like millions of dollars because we're probably going to lose money trying to sue
Fight you,
this,
yeah.
and it'll just go on for fucking years of litigation. But that's just like,
I mean, it's almost like a podcast, you know.
I was thinking the same thing, William.
Well, luckily, we're not making any money and we're not marketing anything to sell.
We would like to make money, though.
We like money.
If
we
you want
all
to give
do.
us money, we'll take your money.
Capitalism.
Yes.
But This to me, like I doubt Guns N' Roses as a whole had something to do with this, and it was probably just Axl going like, you know what? We're gonna show these motherfuckers what is up.
How'd that go?
You just heard it right there. Plus, press minus back 15 seconds.
Yeah, can we get like a duplicate of that portion and have it slowed down? Like, so you're essentially calling here Axl Rose the Lars Ulrich of Guns N' Roses.
Well,
Another puppet on the string.
What
History
if
does show
Axl
that.
and Lars Ulrich started a band?
Who would play guitar?
Holy shit.
Anybody?
They would be on hiatus before they even began. They would be talking about an anticipated album for 2 decades.
We
with
learned that
absolutely
fans
no
are plotting
material.
to illegally steal our music.
That's all they would do.
Made
They
it.
would be in the studio instead of recording music, figuring out lawsuits on how they can sell a peanut company for naming
Yeah,
like a brand
exactly.
of peanuts. And
The band would gain enough traction in litigations and lawsuits.
Oh, yeah, that's how
before
they would
even
make their
released
money.
a song.
Our treasonous fans are planning to steal our music, so we will not even make it.
yeah.
We're a band only in name.
We're saying this now on September 2nd. So just in case this happens, we predicted the future.
Yeah, if Lars and Axl create a band, there's a sign of like a plague coming or something.
Speaking of fictional bands,
Yeah, ironic that we talk about this. Smooth as fuck. So the idea, yeah, fictional bands. It's funny because the movie we recommended last week, being This Is Spinal Tap, obviously being a mockumentary and a very cult following until it actually gained a lot of traction in later years, obviously spawning the band Spinal Tap that so many people aren't even familiar were like created by this fucking movie that was just fake. But it's funny because, and it's weird, like you can kind of like get that breakdown on fictitious bands as well as joke bands and acts that kind of like are more for comedic relief but are actually producing some solid music.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, there's a lot of bands we could talk about, but I mean, I just kind of want to like, we'll go around and make it easy enough to pick a few, but I'm going to start off, obviously more so with the band Death Clock. Total fictitious personas. They're based off the, cartoon essentially off of Adult Swim being Metalocalypse.
Just going to throw this out here. I am a major Metalocalypse and Death Clock.
Oh, yeah, dude. And it's funny because even the songs itself, you figure like Guitar Hero was featuring songs by well-known artists and Thunder Horse was like able to make it on there. And all this while, it's just a total... It's a band with a bunch of good musicians. However, it's just more so of all persona based, and it's not like your typical Gwar or Kiss or having all these different type of fictitious actors portraying certain people, but really being a band. But it's just funny because, a lot of the characters are based off of like musicians that are already familiar in the scene. And
Alexi Lahayo from Children of Bodom, supposed to be Squizgar.
Exactly.
did you see the Soundgarden video where they were Death Clock or whatever, or they were like a Death Clock style band?
No.
Black Rain.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking. I never watched it.
Yeah, it was a while ago, but
William Murderface is supposed to be Geezer Butler.
Yeah.
Nathan Explosion is supposed to be George Corpse
Of
Grinder.
course, yep.
And Toki is supposed to be I forget the dude's name from Meshuggah. Frederick. He's supposed to be Frederick
From Meshuggah?
From Meshuggah. And Pickles is supposed to. I think Pickles is supposed to look like Axl Rose or something.
No. I'll tell you right now.
I forget.
He's the bassist from, I can't think of the band.
However, Pickles in the show, the drummer, does front a band that he had in the 80s called Snakes and Barrels, which is an obvious ripoff of Guns N' Roses.
But it's funny, too, with the band itself, like when we talk about these bands and then having the members. I mean, I'll just start with, obviously, one of the most important members of that band being the drummer, being Gene Hoglan.
Yeah.
Gene Hoglan, if you're not familiar with him, he did a lot in the 90s death metal scene coming later on with the band Death. And he's just...
Dark Angel.
And it's funny because it being a fictitious
Strapping
band...
young lad.
Who's the guy?
Devin Townsend.
Devin Townsend.
That's who Pickles is supposed to
That's
be.
what I was trying
Yes.
to think of. Thank you. All right, perfect. So Gene Hoglan, I mean, again, just having these musicians, it's funny because these guys are creating actual work, and it's just kind of obviously more for the
3
comedic
albums
relief.
worth, to be exact.
Yeah. And they're
Death Clock
actually...
had 3 albums.
Death Clock
Damn.
1, 2, or Death Album 1, 2, and 3. I own all of them.
Yep.
They're very good.
You have CDs of them?
No, I download them on iTunes.
Put it this way: peak positions.
I used
The
to own
Death
Def
album
Leppard 1
hit
and 2.
21 in the U.S. U.S. Rock hit 5. U.S. Hard Rock hit 3. Death album 3 hit 10 in the U.S. charts, and it hit 1 and 1 both on U.S. Rock and U.S. Hard Rock.
And they're all good.
Yeah.
For those of you that aren't fans of the show and don't understand, the songs on the albums are actual songs that are played in the show that are specific to said episodes.
Yeah.
Like Go Into the Water. Remember that song when they were
Do they still make Metalocalypse?
there's talks of another season because they did 3 seasons and then a rock opera episode, and then Adult Swim dropped them, and they were trying to find a new home to put the show out, and now there's talks of Adult Swim coming back to them, or them coming back to Adult Swim, but that's been talks for some time now. We're in like another fucking Tool situation. I just want one more season. That's all I want. One season.
The last album, Death Album 3, came out in 2012. The show actually wrapped up, and being October 27th of 2013 is when the final episode was premiering. But again, it's funny because when you listen to these albums, you're actually hearing quality work. And it's just funny for the relief factor of this. It's not serious, but serious at the same time.
The band is fronted by Brendan Small, who is he plays most of the rhythm parts, like Toki's parts, and he's the voice of Nathan Explosion. Brian Beller is the bass player from Aristocrats with Guthrie Groven. Obviously Gene Hoglan from various 90s death metal fame, and Mike Keneally, guitarist for Frank Zappa, I believe, right? And Steve Vai.
Yep.
I've never got the chance to see them live. They played at the Art Museum in Philadelphia a few years back, and from the live videos that I've seen from them playing Comic-Con and stuff like that, they are incredible.
Yeah.
Like it's virtually a metal super group. It really is. And to think that it all comes basically from Brendan Small, who's also went on to release Galacticon.
Yeah.
I think Galacticon 1 and 2. Just an extremely good band. And it's cool that they are a fictitious band in film and television, but it's also a real functioning working band in real life.
Yeah, and bottom line is, if you listen to the bands that we mentioned, being Strapping Young Lad, Cannibal Corpse, even Children of Bodom with Alexi Leo, I mean, this music you sincerely, I think, would enjoy it.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Don't go into it to look for that really like melodic At the Gates or In Flames like type melodic death metal, or even Children of Bodom with like Hatebreeder, but you will get
there's some
quality
in there.
musicianship out of these, like all 3 of these albums.
What other bands you got, Steve?
So
got another one?
The last one, I'll talk about real quick is if everybody's familiar with the movies Forgetting Sarah Marshall, as well as Get Him to the Greek.
Infant Sorrow,
man.
And
Out of Snow. So obviously Out of Snow, played by Russell Brand. It's a fictitious band off of both these movies.
Jonah Hill's a big fan.
Jonah Hill's a huge fan. He even enjoyed African Child. He had to admit to it. He had to admit to that shit. But here's the thing. First, I'll recommend both the movies.
Stroke the furry wall.
Oh my God.
Jeffrey.
It's a fucking Jeffrey.
What is it? My beans and mash.
Yeah, dude. But pretty much the way it starts is in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. You have Out of Snow's character first appear in there. He's pretty much plot line. He's dating this girl who, I don't want to get an actor's name to just go through the whole movie, but he's dating this girl who broke up with her, fiance at the time, and he's just kind of like this big artist, Out of Snow, but you don't really see much until the movie Get Him to the Greek comes out, and then that whole movie essentially becomes about Jonah Hill trying to get Out of Snow to play this big show, bring Infant Sorrow back, and he's just a total mess, so you get to see like the comedy aspect of just like this guy trying to get a rock and roll star like tame, and it's hilarious. But
how many kookaroos do you own?
Yeah,
I owe 20 kookaroos. Y'all are fucked.
But it's just funny too. Like, I mean, just the whole scene where he's got like the heroin shoved up his ass Out of Snow, and then he winds up like fucking like ruining it.
He's a mule.
He's like, "You're gonna need to go out and get me some heroin immediately." And then he goes out and goes through this whole process and watches the guy get stabbed, gets the heroin, comes back, and Out of Snow already has the heroin. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm already good. It's okay." And he's just, the whole movie is hilarious. But the band itself, they actually released some good songs. Obviously, the movie itself follows like his recent single, fictitiously being African Child.
Yeah.
And it's like a commercial success, but it's like a fucking shit song, dude.
Yeah, and like it sparked up a lot of
Controversy.
yeah, controversy,
yeah.
racism.
Oh yeah, but it like was
I forget
creating
how
this
that song
wave.
goes.
I forget
Some-
too, but
something African Child.
it's like been this big joke because there's a scene in it where he's like on the plane and trying to get the truss out of Snow's, asking Jonah Hill's character like, well, how'd you feel about African Child? And he, like, Jonah Hill hates it, but he's like, I loved it. I thought it wasn't too bad because he just doesn't want to like lose the opportunity again.
It's misunderstood.
Yeah, it's misunderstood, like other albums we know about.
Kiss the
But
Elder.
yeah, I mean, Connor, obviously you're familiar with this band as well in some regard.
Yeah, I mean, I like them. My sister's a real big fan. That's how I know them. Actually, it's funny because the only song I really remember is African Child. Because you kind of have to like get into them. The music's not really like all throughout the movie or anything.
They're like deep cuts.
So it's funny because like when you say the songs, they actually have like release songs from different years, being between 2008 2010 because of the movies. But the one song, Inside of You,
Yeah.
all of them are bangers. Beans and Mash, Furry Walls, African Child, Going Up, The Clap.
Yeah.
The Clap was like their
yeah.
U2
You've got
type
the
song. It
clap.
was like a U2 type song. But yeah, there's so many good songs that they released throughout the movie, and it made it fun because I'm sure, Bill, you're familiar with another movie that features a fictitious band.
Almost Famous.
No. Think about it.
I don't know.
Rockstar.
There's so many.
Steel Dragon.
I am Steel Dragon.
See, there's another one. Because you think about movies that you could talk about that created these
Yeah.
bands, and then they create actual music, so they're not just like ripping off other artists to act like that band and
All right,
follow a whole
well-
movie plot.
And arguably one of Mark Wahlberg's best roles ever. No, it's a joke. That movie was like an absolute flop. Rockstar is a movie where it's almost like everyone's dream that comes true. It's actually loosely based off of Tim Ripper Owens'
Judas Priest,
joining Judas Priest,
Yeah.
where Mark Wahlberg is a singer of a cover band or a tribute band, as he says, to these metal giants known as Steel Dragon, which at the time is, basically like a Judas Priest. And there's scouts that see him singing live and they bring him in to join the band. And as you go in and you start seeing this band, you start seeing some familiar faces.
Indeed.
You see Zach Wilde as the lead guitar player. You see Jason Bonham as the drummer, son of John Bonham, Led Zeppelin fame. And you see the bass player from Dokken, Jeff Pilson.
Mm.
I mean, Dokken's one of those like throwaway 80s bands, but Jeff is a very good bass player. Also in the movie, the band that Mark Wahlberg was in, the tribute band, actually has the drummer from the band Slaughter. Remember that song, Up All Night, Sleep All Day?
Yeah, the glam band Slaughter.
Yeah.
Because there's another
Yeah, the
Slaughter
glam band
during that
Slaughter.
time. Yeah.
Well, that's the drummer for the tribute band. And the guitar player for the tribute band that plays like the Zach Wilde part in the cover version is actually Nick Cantonese, the second guitar player from Black Label Society at the time, which is actually, he was known, a stage name was like the Evil Twin because he was able to play Zach Wilde's parts note for note. But as you start getting into the movie and you start hearing more and more of the music, you start realizing that this music is pretty fucking good. And if you're like me and you dig deeper and deeper and you find out things about this movie, there's a few really good songs like We All Die Young, which is actually a song by a band called Steel Heart.
Mm.
And the singer from Steel Heart is actually the singer, or is actually the guy that actually does the vocals for Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg's just lip syncing it. So just in case you guys are watching the movie and, oh my God, Mark Wahlberg can sing, he can't.
Got those good vibrations.
He can dance, he can't sing. Yeah, and then like Stand Up and Shout, which is another really good song. Turns out it's a Sammy Hagar song. Sammy Hagar wrote that song, and they used it for the movie.
So it's not actually a Sammy Hagar song. It's like a written
the Sammy-
song.
It wasn't on a studio album.
It
just
was on a
getting
studio album.
It was?
It's on
As a
Sammy
Sammy
Hagar's greatest hits.
Wait. So let me ask you a question.
After
What
the
came?
movie came out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not a studio
So
album.
hold on.
Or beforehand, Sammy Hagar wrote the song. Look it up. It's called "Stand Up and Shout" or "Stand Up."
But I'm saying, who's actually singing the vocals when Mark Wahlberg's lip
The
syncing?
guy from Steelheart.
Okay, so let me ask you this: that song was written by Sammy Hagar for
Yes.
the movie.
No, it was a Sammy Hagar song, like completely before the movie came out.
Oh, okay, so it was already
Yeah,
released
it was already
and
a song.
recorded. And...
Yes, and they
Interesting.
changed some of the lyrics around for like plot points in the movie. Like the singer's gay, and like the song's about exploring sexuality and whatever. But in the Sammy Hagar version, it's not about that. They just share the same basic ideas for the song, and the chorus is the same.
Not me not being familiar with Sammy Hagar, not a huge fan so much, but the song itself. I mean, are they really that similar? Like
Yeah,
it's
pretty similar. Minus like obvious the giant like guitar parts that are Zach Wilde.
Yeah.
If the Zach Wilde aspect of the song wasn't so huge and out there, you wouldn't be able to tell the songs apart.
That's crazy. I'm guessing like most of the other songs on there aren't by original artists.
No, I'm not sure who wrote most of the music, but there's like on the official soundtrack for the movie.
Yeah.
There's basically all the songs throughout the movie, like "Wasted Generation."
So it's all songs written by artists, obviously, to portray the same way with Death Clock and Invent Sar. Like you had musicians record
Yes.
for this band, but original tracks just for Steel Dragon.
Exactly.
But that one song is actually like technically a Sammy Hagar song.
It's a Sammy Hagar song.
That's fucking weird, man.
It is weird, but
I didn't know
it's
that.
a good song. I mean, you've seen the movie. The song's good. And
Debatable.
I just think what makes those songs so much better is the fact of the band that recorded those songs, like Jason Bonham, Zach Wilde, and Jeff Pilson.
Yeah.
They make a very good band, with technically a super group if you think about it. And they just made good songs for this movie. And, I know it's not popular belief, but I actually really enjoy this movie. I have it still downloaded to my phone to this day.
I'll put it
Watch
this
every
way:
now and
it's
then.
not like an incredible film.
It could have
but
been
it's a
done
good
way
watch.
better.
Yeah, it's a good watch.
It features a young Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, very true.
Good movie. And actually, for those of you that are unfamiliar, Zach Wilde actually grew a beard after said movie because there was a deleted scene where they meet up with Steel Dragon like 10 years later, and Zach Wilde's character is like living in the woods and like he's a fucking mountain man. And he grew a beard, and if the story holds true, he looked at himself in the mirror and was like, I fucking like this. So he continued to grow his beard, which is now, one of the most
trademark.
notable things about Zach
His
Wilde.
current staple. Yeah.
Yeah. Another band that I want to bring up is the Wonders or the Oneaters.
Yeah, they're like the best fictitious band, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean they only have one song really, maybe two, but
The song in question is
That Thing You Do.
Thing You Do. It's actually written by Adam Schlesinger from the band Fountains of Wayne.
oh wow.
Yeah, that's who wrote that song. And for those of you who don't know, That Thing You Do is a movie about a fictitious band that writes a one-hit wonder, and they go into stardom, and they're almost like a Beatles type band that, in like when was the movie set, in the 60s?
Yeah.
In the like early mid 60s.
They were like a post Beatles, like one hit
Yeah.
wonder. Yeah.
And that's also a really good movie starring Tom Hanks. Actually, Tom Hanks, I believe, was an executive producer on that movie. And it's actually really, really good. You guys have seen that movie, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, tons of times.
Yeah, that movie's my shit. But
Stillwater's probably my favorite from Almost Famous.
yeah,
Now, isn't that loosely based off of Led Zeppelin?
Yeah,
That
it's
story?
loosely based off
Stillwater
Led
is a real
Zeppelin.
band. Stillwater is a real band from the 70s.
They get that. Well, that's not where they got their name from, though. They got their name from Soundgarden, from
Oh,
Rusty
okay.
Cage. Yeah.
Yeah, figure the time the movie was released.
And Cameron Crowe was boys with the grunge people from
Oh, yeah,
Single.
that's true.
But that whole storyline is loosely based off of Led Zeppelin's story.
Cameron Crowe going on tour with them. Yeah,
Yeah.
when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Stillwater, that fucking song, Fever Dog.
Fever Dog.
That
Yeah.
shit's on
man.
my Spotify. I listen to that song at least once a
And
day.
but this is the thing with these fictitious bands, because you bring up Stillwater. I wouldn't consider, like, if you just put bands alone as Stillwater being one of the best fictitious, but it's just the movie. Like
Yeah.
the movie
Yeah, Almost
itself
Famous is
really
just
sets
insane.
that band because it's just such a phenomenal, like well done movie, man. But that's the cool thing about it, because when you have like same thing with Rockstar, where you're actually elaborating more on the band and not a movie, because
Mhm.
then you're literally watching a documentary about a band that doesn't exist.
You got any other bands, Connor, you want to talk about?
Oh, the Cantina Band from Star Wars is always good.
I'm telling you right now, when they went to Mos Eisley and they actually went and met Han Solo the first
They
time,
set the mood.
That place looked popping, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys were in it. You want to talk about, remember last week where you talked about that band you saw with all the various
Oh
instruments?
yeah, Evil Sword.
I mean,
yeah.
Cantina Band was like way behind on their times, because they were bringing back some styles of music I don't think, Galaxy Far, Far Away was ready for.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are probably putting out some hits.
But the most legendary fictitious band.
Pretty much the
Lone
most
Rangers?
iconic.
No.
Well, first of all,
Notable
Airheads
mention.
is great. Yeah, notable mention before we
The
get
Lone
into
Rangers.
Yeah, Lone Rangers is an excellent
From the movie
band.
Airheads.
Great movie. If you haven't seen it, you got a fucking problem as well.
What band?
Spinal Tap.
Oh,
Well, it's just funny because when you talk about fictitious bands, this is like the first thing that comes to mind if you ever start to describe it, because the mockumentary, This Is Spinal Tap, which is what we're obviously going to review later on at the end of this segment, they had no clue what that was
No.
going to do. No clue. And it's funny because then that movie created a
Yeah.
band. I mean, think of any other circumstance where that happened. You figure when we talk about Death Clock selling albums and things like that, they didn't go out to tour as like a band for
Yeah.
themselves. I mean, some people know Spinal Tap and don't even know about this film.
because Spinal Tap
That's
is
the
a
funny part of
touring
that.
act.
Literally.
And I mean, it is kind of really funny that all the members that were in the movie are actually the real ass members in real life.
In the band.
And like
Yeah.
the guitar player, I forget his name in the movie, but he actually has a signature guitar through Ernie Ball Music Man guitars, the yellow one with all the pickups and shit.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny. And I guess that's going to get into our review of This Is Spinal
Yeah,
Tap.
we just jump right into it.
So, yeah, like we said before, This Is Spinal Tap is a documentary style movie based off the fictitious band at the time, Spinal Tap. And it just shows like how like clueless these guys are, and there's a lot of really funny moments. The one that sticks out in my mind is the Stonehenge one,
The Stone,
where they're
yeah.
thinking they're gonna get
Yeah.
a life-size Stonehenge on stage, and like the little one shows up like the size of like a chessboard.
Most of the dialogue in the film was improvised, and dozens of hours were used, which were later pulled.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
kind
funny.
of a cool approach.
Like
yeah.
Christopher Guest is hilarious in that movie. He really is. And like
Michael
like
McKean.
the other running joke that's really funny is the whole the drummers, like all how they had like all like unexpected
Yeah,
deaths.
the one just like spontaneously combusted. In 2002, it was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress and was selected for preservation by the National Film Registry.
Think about that.
That's
2002,
crazy.
that's how they're hailing it. The movie came out, 1984,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And it's just, that's another thing of like describing times. But again, I think about that coming out in 1984. It's not in 2002 that it started. And just because of what they say is not so much to like be the be all end all, but they'd already had a cult following leading up into Spinal Tap actually becoming its own entity. But now it is literally one of those films in the idea of music where you
Even
watch
American
this and
cinema, dude.
seriously, it's like got its own value in itself. Think of any other mockumentary you've ever seen out there about like fake situation that created something that literally became its own like
I can't
own
think
thing.
of any.
Not
Nope.
a single one. Especially in the world of music, but even anything else.
Yeah, it's just it's
know what I
it's
mean?
wild. It's such a culturally it's like a culturally important movie.
It really
And,
is.
I mean, I would like to see how many bands actually saw that movie and it inspired them to make their own music. You know what I mean? Like someone that drew like 100% influence from that movie.
And then it's ironic when you bring up the idea of like I didn't know about the amount of improv film that had to be cut, because then essentially if you do this in reverse time, this is literally a documentary about Spinal Tap as opposed to a mockumentary that led to become
Exactly.
Spinal Tap. Because this is really them. You know what I mean? Like you're not seeing actors portraying a band that now
Yeah, exactly.
exists.
They literally became the band.
Yeah.
Glenn Danzig said of the film, "When I first saw Spinal Tap, I was like, hey, this is my old band," referring to the Misfits.
It's pretty fucking accurate, actually.
The film resonated with many musicians, according to Wikipedia. Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, Jerry Cantrell, Dee Snider, and Ozzy Osbourne all reported that, like Spinal Tap, they had become lost in confusing arena backstage hallways at one
That's so
point,
funny.
trying to make their way
Even
to the stage.
remember when we all watched Pearl Jam 20, when they were talking about all their ex drummers, they refer to it as their Spinal Tap drummer moments. That's funny.
Yeah. This gets references
God,
all over
yeah.
the place, though.
Lars Ulrich told a press conference crowd that the Metallica Guns N' Roses 1992 tour seemed so Spinal Tap. The tour was in support of Metallica's own Black album, which was what Spinal Tap named one of their albums as a joke
You
in
know,
the
it's kind
film.
of funny. I wonder if Christopher Guest wouldn't mind getting on there and suing Lars Ulrich, giving him a little taste of his own fucking medicine for once.
Shortly after the tour started, James Hetfield suffered third-degree burns on his arms after he stood too close to a pyrotechnic device.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was during Fade
During
to
that
Black.
tour.
That's when that riot started.
That was also, too, when the riot started, because then Axl refused
Yeah.
to go on because apparently he had throat issues. Meanwhile, they was seen backstage smoking Reds and drinking Jack Daniels the whole time with having no care whatsoever about being able to perform. We got to slow that down. We got to edit that really funny.
In a 1992 interview, Nirvana explains declining the offer to be a part of the film's singles. Kurt Cobain goes on to say, "There's never really been a good documentary on rock and roll bands." Dave Grohl cuts in saying, "Except Spinal Tap,"
Literally.
That's funny.
It's true.
I'm pretty sure Dave Grohl.
which Cobain agreed
pretty sure
with.
Dave Grohl had joined Spinal Tap on stage at one point or another. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's no way to look that up, but knowing Dave Grohl, it's probably a possibility, and it definitely happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, you figure in that time in '84, when did Spinal Tap actually form to start doing music?
It was very soon after that,
Yeah,
and they were touring, and I believe they would play like Walkin' and stuff too. Like
yeah.
they were all over the place. Like they were a legitimate touring band that released music.
U2 guitarist The Edge said in the documentary It Might Get Loud that when he first saw Spinal Tap, "I didn't laugh, I wept, because it summed up what a brainless swamp big label rock music had become.
Seriously,
The type of typical positions we take here at Rage Against the Mainstream."
absolutely.
I mean, we still don't like U2 at all, but
Yeah.
And I still want an apology for the Apple Music fiasco back in 2000.
yeah, you hear us, Bono?
My
Yeah.
buddy Tyler's mom swears that the Edge wanted to marry her back in the 70s.
Really? In Ireland?
Says. I don't know if it's true. Apparently he was in New York or some shit at one point. I don't know.
Okay.
He's the
Anyway.
Edge Tyler's dad.
So that was. I don't even think we need to go
It's
through
not
the
Tyler
reviews
Edge.
that we have here through the Times and Associated Press and Variety Magazine, because I mean those are some solid reviews just based on personal musicians, and I think that's the kind of respect this movie needs, is actually getting honest reviews instead of publication. But overall, let's go around, do our here Rage Against the Mainstream review 1 out of 10 segment to break down the average.
All right, I feel like because of how classic the movie is and just in general of what it is, I have to give this movie, I can't say 100, I can't really say a 90. I'd probably give it an 80, 88%.
That low?
I don't know. Like I'm just thinking of how it could have been done better, or even, well, then again, now I'm thinking about it, for the
Gotta
time.
be the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for the times, this movie,
We're not judging your opinion, man. You can go with an 80 if you want.
I'll meet in the middle. It'll be an 85. I'll give it an 8.5.
Fair enough.
Perfect. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
What about you, Steve?
9.5.
It's one of the greatest movies of all
Yeah,
time.
it's because it's a great movie. It's just well done. What it created, the staple it put, and the idea of just music documentaries in general. The relatability, especially for acts coming out of it. There was just so much done to this film that nobody really realized until years down the line. It's like something that totally stood the test of time and became more apparent over the years. But yeah, giving a perfect score is difficult, so 9.5 is settled with.
Well, that makes our grand total to a 9.3 or 93%.
Is that our highest review?
I think it
average?
might be.
It's
Yeah,
up
I think
there.
this might be. Yeah.
Congratulations, Spinal Tap, or this is Spinal Tap, rather.
So put it this way. If you've been listening to this podcast now for 20 weeks with obviously break in between, but for 20 episodes and you have yet to watch any of our movie recommendations, watch
This is the
This
one.
Is Spinal Tap.
This is Spinal Tap is the one.
This is the one.
This is certified rage-worthy.
Yeah, if you had to drop every single movie suggestion we had and you only had to keep one, this is the one to date.
And, we're pretty on par with everybody. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 95%. Rotten Tomatoes audience score gave it a 92%. IMDb gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
So, fuck IMDb.
Yeah.
Actually,
IMDb's always a little
Yeah,
tougher.
I'm on IMDb for my role in Secret Lover.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Get the
funny.
fuck out of here, dude.
All right, let's see. Associated Press review says Reiner with McKean, Guest, and Harry Shearer have done a great job in creating and portraying characters that are dim-witted, cliched, and oddly endearing. The New York Times says it stays so wickedly close to the subject that it is very nearly indistinguishable from the real thing. And Variety says, for music biz insiders, This Is Spinal Tap is a vastly amusing satire of heavy metal bands. I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean, I guess at the time, like glam and all that other shit, it was probably very true. Yeah, so but it was pretty perfect with our score. I mean,
It's that good.
yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just that good.
I actually did this. I'm thinking of Straight Outta Compton.
I think we're really high on Straight Outta Compton, too.
Straight Outta Compton was fucking
It's a great fucking movie.
awesome.
Too. But yeah, obviously the difference in the idea of mockumentary sense is documentary sense, actors and real people now be real people, especially in the Spinal Tap world. But yeah, I mean, if it's not, it's not. But I would still recommend this over Straight Outta Compton just for historical value
Oh yeah.
alone.
All right, let's roll into our personal suggestions this week. What do you guys got?
Connor.
I just had it. Fuck. What was it? Oh yeah. All right. My personal suggestion of the week is REM's Rarities compilation, Dead Letter Office. It kind of
Nice.
like combed together all their like lesser known tracks from their IRS years before they signed to Warner Brothers. If you're gonna listen to one song from it, I'd recommend the Pylon cover, Crazy. It's also got Velvet Underground covers and a bunch of other good REM songs that no one really knows.
All right. Nice. I'm gonna go a little not so much mainstream, but like with the hipster vibe, and recommend the 1986 third studio release by the Smiths. The album is called "The Queen Is Dead." Great album.
There's a light that never goes out.
It's a phenomenal album, all the way through.
Not my favorite by the Smiths.
What is your favorite? Meat is Murder. Self-title. Meat is
Murder?
Murder.
Meat is Murder.
Yeah. I'm a Queen is Dead fan.
Yeah.
Queen is Dead is just all the way through because Big Mouth Strikes Again is another just really, really fucking good song. And then also, too,
Oh yeah, I
just
do. I forgot that. one was
Cemetery
on.
Gates is on
Wait.
there.
Big Mouth Strikes Again's on Meat is Murder, right?
Nope.
Oh
Queen is
shit.
Dead.
See, yeah, I kind of fell off from the Smiths, so I haven't listened to them heavily.
That's what I was
for a
saying. This
while.
just kind of came to my mind last second because I just realized like I've been listening to a lot of like 90s alternative and then going back to like some 80s with like The Cure and stuff like that. And I just totally forgot. I haven't listened to the Smiths. Put it this way, I don't like Morrissey solo shit.
I like
not-
some of it.
Not a fan of it, but the Smiths, I mean, they have some...
Every Day is Like Sunday. You don't like?
No,
Really?
no, not a
Suede
huge fan.
Head?
Even New Order, I'm not a fan of. Like all those posts.
Really? You don't like New Order?
Not a huge fan.
Oh man,
I mean, on the same realm as Joy Division? No.
dude, New Order's got some shit.
They do, but it's just the same way with Morrissey. He's got some stuff too, but it's just I can't compare it to the Smiths for some reason. Totally different vibe.
My suggestion this week, to stay true to the main topic, is the 2012 release from Death Clock entitled Death Album 3.
Oh.
Would you say it's the finest of the Death Clock trilogy?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, because the first two albums are literally how they wrote these albums, where there was little clips in each episode, and they wrote songs based around these clips.
Yes.
Death Album 3, they wrote these songs beforehand, and it shows. And there's a documentary about it on YouTube, Making of Death Album 3. If you give it a watch, it'll give you really good insight into the making of that album.
Yeah.
But my standout track is the actual first track off the album, I Ejaculate Fire.
Single.
Yeah, the
that
single.
actually hit some charts too.
That
ironically.
song kicks fucking serious ass.
Yeah.
Death Album 3 is just all good.
Put it this way: it may make you ejaculate. It may make you ejaculate fire.
I ejaculate fire.
But yeah, Death Album 3, I ejaculate fire.
All right.
Our group suggestion this week is the movie documentary called It Might Get Loud. It is a movie about Jimmy Page, Jack White, and The Edge getting in a room together and discussing the electric guitar. I guess it might be about, 3 different generations of guitar players or whatever. I don't know. It seems like it's going to be pretty good. Check it out. We'll review it next week.
All right.
Sounds good.
I just want to take this time out to thank our listeners once again. This is episode number 20. Various countries all over the world. We enjoy doing this podcast and giving it out to you guys every Monday. We're going to continue to do this as long as you guys listen to it. I guess that about wraps up. Do you guys have anything else to say to our listeners?
Thanks, Mark. I know you're out there listening every week. We really all appreciate your continued stewardship of our growth.
No, I'm also just stoked at the idea that we're not even making a penny to do this. This has just become more of a fun environment for us to rock out and people actually listen. I mean, that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. And I like to also put out there in the email suggestions that if you guys ever want to hear anything discussed, debated as a local act, you want to have your music put on before copyright starts to infringe everything, reach out to us, man.
Yeah.
We literally have the streaming networks available to be able to get your shit out there. And even if you want to hear something talk personally about your opinions, fucking hit us up.
Yeah, exactly. You can find us.
Email is
ratmpodcast@gmail.com, twitter.com, instagram.com, facebook.com/ratm podcast, our Podbean page, ratmpodcast.podbean.com. We're now available on iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever else you hear your podcasts.
streaming networks through Android as well
Streaming
as
networks through
iPhones
Android,
as well.
Alexa,
everywhere.
Amazon Echo,
Wherever.
And check us at Wells Fargo Center, where we'll be performing the quick medley of the intro for the podcast on November 18th.
What's it called? I'm an egg in a tree.
I'm an egg in a tree.
I'm an egg in a tree.
It's just crazy to think about it that we're just 3 dudes sitting in a basement. We didn't know what this was going to do starting. It was just a fun idea. And now it turned into other people listen to us on a weekly basis. And chances are, if they're listening to us, they have the same opinions that we do.
And we'd like to hear them.
Exactly.
400 Rage Against the Mainstream podcast fans can't be wrong.
This is true.
Like I said before, make sure you guys check us out on our social media accounts. Like, subscribe, show all of your friends, show all your family, ram it down their throats, make them want to listen like you do.
Put it this way. At one point in time, there was 4 people watching Nirvana play live, thinking of nothing but the opportunity that they could have made friends with these guys.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity now to hit our inbox up. And one day, if it ever becomes something, we'll never forget you.
And, maybe one of these days, sometime in the not too distant future, we could possibly do a live podcast recording session. That'd be kind of cool.
So you can see our beautiful faces and
yeah,
body
exactly.
structure.
You can finally, put a name to the face or face to the name, if you will. But
give you
anyways,
some spank bank material to look over at Connor. Is that nice beard of his?
Whose beard?
Yours.
Oh,
yeah,
It's nice and clean shaven over there.
clean shaven?
Looks all edged up, yeah.
Oh yeah, I always shave.
It looks
my
nice
neck.
and edged up there, yeah.
but that's for the future, and keep listening. Maybe there's a possibility this will happen, and you could be there, and whatever. But for right now, we are signing off as Rage Against the Mainstream. This is Bill.
Connor.
Steve.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.